In the last little while, there hasn't been a ton of news that I've wanted to cover for Monster Hunter Rise, so I decided I would go back to something that I've been meaning to cover for a little while now. When the Tetranodon armor was shown off on Twitter a little while back, the one thing that caught my eye at the end was the Palico, specifically its weapon. See, the weapon was basically a little water pistol on the end of a stick. And, you know, it was cute, it was funny. But when I saw that, I was immediately reminded of a splatter shot from Splatoon 1, and so I wanted to see what it looked like if it was a splatter shot from Splatoon 2. So I made up this little image. And going from there, I'm just kind of curious how things would look and basically what a collaboration between Monster Hunter and Splatoon 2 would look like, at least on Monster Hunter's end.
Dumo plays.
Okay, so let's first talk about the event itself. I don't like the idea of them fighting, say, something from Splatoon in Monster Hunter. I want to fight Monster Hunter monsters in Monster Hunter. So for that reason, I don't want anything to come over in that way. And I like the idea of the Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, where you fight a monster. When you beat it, in your rewards, you get, say, a ticket. And you use those tickets to craft your items, your gear, your weapons, that sort of thing. So with that, what are our options for a Splatoon-esque monster? Well, we have Nakarkaros. I'm not a big fan of the fight. Do kind of like the armor, just not a fan of the fight. Another option we have, older one that I've never fought, Yamasukami, I believe it's called. It's from the second generation, and it's basically a big octopus, or squid. I don't even know which. But it is another option. The problem is these are both Elder Dragons. So is there something that we could do that would have a crossover that works that isn't an Elder Dragon? And for that, well, I would say actually Azeros, which we already know is in Monster Hunter Rise. The reason for that is that Splatoon 2 has a horde mode called Salmon Run. And in it, you're working for Grizzco, and Grizzco is run by basically a big grizzly bear. And you're basically stealing salmon eggs for him. So, bear, it just works out to me. Next up, let's talk armor. So, there's nothing in Splatoon that I think of as like a specific, this is the armor that needs to be in Monster Hunter. And for that reason, I don't think there's a need for any armor, and I think we just get away with using weapons. There is, however, a layered Palico armor that I would like to see, and that would be Judd, our Judge. There is also basically Judd and Little Judd, so we could technically do Judd as a Palamute and Little Judd as a Palico, but I really think that's pushing it, and I like the idea of just Judd as a layered armor for Palico. With that, let's get into the more interesting things. Let's talk weapons. Specifically, we'll start off with the bowguns. Light bowgun, I think Jet Squelcher does a great job of that. I think it looks the part, and I think it just functions really well. Moving on to heavy bowgun, I think basically any of the Splatlings could get the job done, but I really like the look, and I really like the idea of the Ballpoint Splatling. Next up, we can talk dual blades. We do have a weapon class called dualies, which is basically 2 shooters, and 1 in each hand. So for that, I think honestly the one that looks probably like it would work out best would have to be the dually Squelchers. Next up, let's talk longsword. We have a couple options. The first one I would say would be the ink brush, which gets swung back and forth. I feel like it fits as a longsword, but one that kind of I think would look better and be a little bit more interesting and kind of more fun would actually be using chargers. Here's a Squiffer being used as a longsword. Next up, let's talk Huntinghorn. This one here I think is absolutely hilarious, and I do love the idea of this. And if there's one that I could pick out of this list to actually have happen, it would be this one. For the Huntinghorn, I would love to see the Hydra Splatling. It's got a really mean sound to it when it's charging up, especially that final charge. It's terrifying. Next up, let's talk a different weapon class within Splatoon. We have rollers. There's technically 4, but we're only going to focus on 3. Sorry, Flings and Mains. Basically, what we're going to be looking at is the Carbon Roller, the Splat Roller, and the Dynamo Roller. Each one of them has 2 different ways they can fling ink. A horizontal flick and a vertical flick. One's wider, shorter range. One's longer range, but not as wide, not as large of a hitbox. For these weapons, they basically have different speeds and different powers. The Carbon Roller being the quickest but weakest, the Splat Roller being in the middle, and the Dynamo being the slowest and heaviest hitting. And for that reason, I feel like the Dynamo Roller would make a good greatsword, being the slow, big, heavy charge up and that massive single hit damage. Next up, we have the Splat Roller, and I'm thinking switch axe for that one. We could use the vertical flick mode as the sword, and for the axe mode, we could actually use the horizontal flick. Last up, we have the Carbon Roller, which, personally for me, I feel like it makes a good hammer. I have a lot of memories of it just kind of like slamming on me multiple times, and it just reminds me of hammer users. But there's something else we have to talk about when we're talking hammers. That's the Ultra Stamp. It's a special weapon in Splatoon. We call it a hammer, because it basically is a hammer. You chase people with it, you can jump out, swing it, and you can throw it at the end. Not really relevant to hammer, but it's a hammer. It looks like a hammer. It functions like a hammer. Might as well make that the hammer. And last up, let's talk about some things that I don't think are going to happen, but I would really, really love to see them happen. And that's making some consumables. I would love to see the sprinkler used in place of a shock trap, even as just a shock trap skin. We also have suction bombs and splat bombs that can be used as large barrel bombs and small barrel bombs, respectively. The problem I see with these is that Monster Hunter already limits the amount of these that we can take on a hunt. And being able to make a different version, you're now going to be able to bring 3 traps. You're going to be able to bring extra barrel bombs. And I don't see that as happening. But there is one last option that I would really love to see. And this is the one that I feel could actually happen. We have a bomb called a burst bomb. And it basically just explodes on impact. It's not massive damage or anything, but it does work. And why I would like to use this is that I feel like it would make a really good paintball. Now, I know what you're saying. There are no paintballs in the game. And using it would be absolutely useless. We have the Kohoot. We have no need for paintballs. But it would be fun. That's why I would like to have it. Not because it's going to be useful, but because I can take it and throw it at an Elder Dragon, and it does nothing. But it makes me happy. And I'm okay with that. Let me know your thoughts on this idea for collaboration. Let me know your thoughts, what you think could work, what you think does and doesn't work. I would love to hear about it down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to leave a like. I cover Monster Hunter, Splatoon 2, and other various Nintendo franchises, so feel free to subscribe for more. I welcome you to join our community over on Discord. The link is in the description. Until next time, give your pal a pat on the head from me, and have a great day.